you please bless the hearts of the people to hear your word. We ask that it please come forth with conviction and edification for the flock. We ask you please continue to bless the growth of your people, seal the elect, seal the 144,000, continue to have grace upon your elect, upon your people, and then recite Hawashai. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All right. Appreciate you, brothers and sisters, joining us tonight. Like I said, I'm not going to keep you here long. We're going to go ahead and just go through the lesson here. And the name of this one is entitled Hungry, Hungry Negroes. Hungry, Hungry Negroes. Why is that? Why is that? Because the famine of the word is and will be a prelude to the famine of actual sustenance, actual food, right? So Israel as a people has always placed the flesh before the spirit. Okay, we cried out for bread and meat before crying out for instruction and spiritual understanding in the wilderness, right? So we saw all these miracles take place. We saw the Red Sea part for us, and we walked through on dry ground. We saw Pharaoh's army get swallowed up. And what's the first thing we do? We start moaning and groaning about food. Food. Not, hey, Moses, how can we please this great power that just delivered us from Israel? Look at this miracle he just did. We just walked through on dry ground. What does he want from us, right? We put the flesh before the spirit. So in the last days, now, hey, Abiyah, he's going to strip away both. He's going to strip away spiritual understanding. He's going to strip away the word, and he's going to strip away physical food for the big bellies of Israel. Okay, let's just start off with a classic real quick. Amos 8, 11, and 12. The book of Amos, chapter 8, 11, and 12.
Say that one more time, huh?
Amos 8, 11, and 12.
Amos 8, 11, and 12.
Yes, sir.
The book of Amos, chapter 8, verses 11 and 12. Behold, the days come, saith Yah, Elohim, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor of thirst for water, but of hearing the words of Yah. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh, and shall not find it.
All right. Okay, so that famine of the word is on its way. And I call this lesson Hungry, Hungry Negroes because it was a childhood game I used to play called Hungry, Hungry Hippos. And if you remember that game, you had the four hippos, 4 players would play, and they would be fighting over these white balls that came into the middle of the game. Whoever got the most food at the end, that's the person who won. Well, in these last days, you best believe it's going to be people with that same mindset, right? Fighting for the scraps are going to be left on the grocery store shelves, right? Until they actually start shopping inside of your house, right? Especially you 2/3, okay? We're going to go ahead and take a look at some content to kind of put everything into perspective, and then we'll come back with some more scripture. Hang on one second. All right. And, okay. Do I have control, Elder? I don't believe I do.
Yes. Oh, you don't? Oh, that I thought I did.
Actually, I think I do. Hang on one second. I think I do. Okay, I'm good. I'm good, Elder.
Okay. You.
On the internet, and the light will go out. Even after 3 to 4 out, suddenly we will be all at home, reading or on the internet, and the light will go out. Even after 3 to 4 hours, we'll still not come back. This time the light will be out for months. There will be no electricity, no internet, no telephones. There will be nothing. There will be no distribution of foodstuffs. Everything will be paralyzed. Everything. There won't be any international flights. Cars won't work. Absolutely everything will be paralyzed. Everything. What is the purpose of all of this? Its purpose is to eliminate many millions of people. The global elites say there are too many people on Earth. In 3 years, they intend to eliminate 5,000 million people. And I'll tell you something, they are going to achieve their goal. By Christmas, a lot of foodstuffs and products will be missing in the shops. This is not my opinion, but information obtained from American and Russian intelligence services. On the 4th of October this year, they brought down the communication system of the entire world. This was a practice run of what's to come. Everything will collapse. Everything. And the person who hasn't food set aside will very probably die of starvation. What is coming is very hard, but I must tell you that the fun and games are now over. I won't mince my words here. What is coming is much more difficult than what you could ever imagine. I hope, therefore, that you will respect the information I have about this blackout. The information I have says it will occur in January, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility that these lowlifes might make it happen even earlier. According to the prophecy of Luz de Maria, this blackout will happen when Europe is under a blanket of snow. This means it will occur in January or February. We have, therefore, about 2 months to prepare and to make decisions. Our first decision must be to set aside food for a very minimum of 5 months. Put aside lots of pulses, such as lentils, chickpeas, beans, non-perishables, because they last for years. Also various forms of pasta. Buy lots of tinned foods. Also some salt and sugar. When the blackout comes to an end, the global elite will start World War III. The Third World War is already prepared. The battlefield will be Europe. It will be a Russian and Chinese alliance to destroy Europe and to attack the United States. It will be a thermonuclear war in which previously unknown weapons will be used, and they will use intercontinental ballistic missiles to kill 2,200 million people in 3 weeks. This is intelligence information. It is not my opinion.
All right, I got a message that the sound quality wasn't up to par there, so I do apologize for that, family. But basically, the gist of the content was that the elite are planning a huge blackout, right? In which there will be no shopping, there will be no food available, right? In the grocery stores, trucks will stop coming in to the cities, right? And that's already happening in rural areas. The brother AD, the elder, we're speaking about that this Shabbat and Shabbat previously, how there's in the smaller areas, the smaller towns, there's already a lack of food on the shelves, okay? A lack of sustenance in the grocery stores, all right? And they're keeping it out of the major cities because they don't want everyone to panic just yet, okay? But this is going to happen. The guy was a foreigner who was speaking on the video, and he's basically saying that, hey, they want to they want to get rid of what he said was 5,000 million people. So that's 5 billion people, 5 billion people off the planet, right? And the Georgia Guidestones, right? They speak to that. It's written in stone that they want to get the population down to 500 million people worldwide. There's too many eaters, too many people that are on the planet that are just utilizing resources, useless eaters, as the elite call them, right? So this is what's happening. This is what's in play, okay? And we're definitely in those end times, all right? So Israel has to focus on what we need to be focusing on. That's the spiritual aspects, because we always put our belly first. Is never enough. No matter what the Most High gives us, it's never enough for the children of Israel. Let's go to Exodus 16, 1 through 4. The book of Exodus, chapter 16, verse 1 through 4.
Book of Exodus, chapter 16, verses 1 through 4. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to Elohim be we had died by the hand of Yahuwah in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into the wilderness, to this wilderness, to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then said Yahuwah unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no.
That I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. So Israel complained of having no food. All right, you just walked across the Red Sea on dry ground. So whoever did this for you, if they're capable of opening up the sea for you, they're capable of feeding you. Okay. So the Most High, he rained bread upon our people. He fed us, yet tested us to see if we would follow his laws. See, the Most High, he created us, and he knows that his people, right, they prioritize the flesh over the spirit all the time. Jake is carnal as hell. Let's go to Numbers 11, 4 through 6. Numbers 11, 4 through 6.
The book of Numbers, chapter 4.
11. Numbers
sorry.
11, 4 through 6, please.
The book of Numbers, chapter 11, verses 4 through 6. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell and lusted. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish, which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There's nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes.
There's nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes. There's nothing at all except for this bread from heaven. Think about that. We're seeing bread come down from Hashemayim, from the heavens themselves, and that's not enough, right? The bread of life was not enough for these stiff necks. Nothing satisfies an insatiable Israelite appetite. Always thinking with the flesh and thinking with the flesh and thinking with our bellies. Hey, Yah's going to use that as a trap to punish and to kill off the wicked. Let's go to John 6. John 6, 25 through 29. The book of John, chapter 6.
Book of John, chapter 6. Give me those verses again, Art.
That's 25 through 29. Actually, you know what? Hold on. I want that. Yeah. John chapter 6, 25 through 29, please.
Book of John, chapter 6, verses 25 through 29. And when they had found him on the other side of the sea, they said unto him, Rabbi, when comest thou hither? Yahusha answered them and said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, ye seek me, not because ye saw the miracles, but because ye did eat of the loaves and were filled. Labor not for the meat which perisheth, but for that meat which endureth unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him hath Yah, the Father, sealed. Then said they unto him, What shall we do, that we might work the works of Elohim? Yahusha answered and said unto them, This is the work of Elohim, that ye believe on him whom he hath sent.
So What did he say? Yahweh answered them and said, verily, verily, I say unto you, ye seek me not because you saw the miracles, but because you did eat of the loaves and were filled. Translation, you niggas came and sought me because you want to fill up your bellies. You just want to eat. Okay. I perform miracles for you. That's not why you're seeking me out. You're seeking me for food, for your belly. Again, just like in the wilderness. See all these miracles take place. You see the death of the firstborn go down, but you're protected in Goshen, right? And the first thing you complain about, first thing you worry about is your belly, Israel, right? Yahweh presented himself as the miracle worker, as the healer, the teacher, right? And of course, the bread of life, the redeemer of our nation, the spiritual bread, the living embodiment of the law and prophets. Yet again, this was not enough for the people, namely who? The chieftains, the Pharisees, the scribes, right? And even this bunch right here who sought out Hamashiach for bread. Again, not for spiritual understanding, not for doctrine, but for fish and bread. Okay? So Yah's going to use that as a trap and as a stumbling block and as a punishment for the wicked amongst his people. We're going to take a look at some more content real quick. Pay attention to this video. The sound quality should be a lot better on this one. Israel, don't multitask. Don't listen to this video very, very carefully, please.
We're not ready for what's coming next. The narratives we're being told are only half the story. But in today's video, we're going to expose the whole truth. The information we're about to share is extremely alarming, but it isn't fair with our viewers to keep sugarcoating reality as the mainstream media always does. We all need to know what's really going on and the things no one dares to announce to the public. We must get ready while we still can. It is true that the United States is suffering from stockouts of many items in thousands of grocery stores and supermarkets across the nation. It is also true that food supplies are getting tighter and tighter in every corner of the globe. Government authorities have been insisting that food shortages and our ongoing supply chain crisis are merely a result of the latest wave of infections and its ramifications on the labor market. But there's more to it, much more. Something they haven't been telling us is that inflation is climbing so rapidly that millions of farmers and food producers simply won't be able to plant their crops this year. In a recent article published by Michael Snyder, The Economist unveiled an email he received from a farming insider who allowed him to publicly share some of the content in it to the public, as long as his name was not revealed. Snyder highlighted that he has been corresponding with the insider for many years, but the information he shared this time around was simply shocking. The Economist has been repeatedly warning about tightening food supplies over the past few years, and he argues that what we have experienced so far is just the beginning, but he didn't realize how dire things have already become until he got that email. According to this farming insider, skyrocketing costs for fertilizer will make it impossible for millions of farmers and food producers to afford to plant corn this year. The following is an excerpt of the email. Things for 2022 are interesting and scary. Input costs for things like fertilizer, liquid nitrogen, and seeds are like triple and quadruple the old prices. It will not be profitable to plant this year. Let me repeat, the economics will not work. Our plan is to drop about 700 acres of corn off and convert it to soybeans. They use less fertilizer. We also have chicken manure from that operation.
They want to go ahead and stop planting corn, right? It's not going to be profitable for them to plant corn. And they want to replace that corn with soy. If you know anything about soy, soy is detrimental to the man's testosterone. It helps him to build estrogen in his body. Okay. So they want a bunch of pencil neck, limp wrist, weak men running around with low T, eating off soy. If you look at common grocery store items now, there's always soy inputted into those items, into that food, right? They're already doing it. They're going to do it even more mass scale, right? Let's go back.
Guess what? We are not the only ones with those plans. Already, there is a shortage of soybean seeds, so we'll see how that will work out. The way I see it, there will be a major grain shortage later in this year, especially with corn. I mean, we are small with that. What about these people in the Midwest who have like 10,000 acres of corn? This will not be good. After having received that message, Snyder wrote him back with some questions. In response, the insider described a very bleak outlook for grain production in 2022. As for the farming, I see it getting bad, he said. Things like fertilizer and liquid nitrogen have tripled and quadrupled in price. Yes, commodity prices are up, but that certainly won't cover the new increased input costs. We are in North Carolina, so while certainly not like the Midwest, we still grow grain. The Midwest, of course, will have these same higher input costs as well, he continued. Corn, for example, typically takes about 600 pounds of fertilizer per acre, plus 50 gallons of liquid nitrogen. Times that by many acres, and that's a lot of money. Soybeans take much less. The plan for us and most others around here is to drastically cut corn acres and switch to soybeans. The problem is that there's apparently a soybean seed shortage because others have this plan as well.
So you can't plant corn because it's unprofitable. And now there's a soybean shortage because everyone wants to plant soybeans because of the unprofitability of the corn. You can't escape the famine. Hey, you 2/3, you simple normies, man. Y'all better wake the hell up, man. This is going to happen. This is going down. And it's y'all's plan.
We're lucky enough to pre-buy enough to do it. However, most people probably don't have the money to front like that, the insider added. The way I see it, a corn shortage will come, he warned. I guess there could possibly be a glut of soybeans, but remember, that could depend on the seed being available. Of course, the corn market is much larger. Think animal feed and ethanol. What happens to the animal producers who depend on reasonably priced corn? I just don't see how it can end well, the farming veteran stressed. Even if we end up with plenty of soybeans, even a glut, then you'll have a busted market for that, he explained. I don't know. There just isn't much history to base any of this on. I just see it hurting both grain farmers and animal farmers, and also translating into more shortages and price increases for consumers who buy the end products, the insider concluded. For his part, the economist said he was completely stunned when he read those messages, considering that corn is one of the foundational pillars of America's food supply. Such a steep decline in production would mean that millions of food items that include corn in their ingredients will not be available in the stores anymore. If you go buy some groceries and start reading through the components of various products, you'll rapidly realize that corn is in nearly everything we consume in one form or another. So, if a shortage of corn hits this country, our current food supply problems will go from bad to worse. And
You can easily train yourself to listen faster.
might not even be able to source corn from other countries because most of them are experiencing the same issues too. With fertilizer prices going through the roof all around the world, major food manufacturing regions such as South America are seeing these increased costs severely hamper corn production. On top of that, the coffee we consume here in the United States, which is produced in Brazil, is also in very short supply, as Brazilian farmers are hard hit by higher fertilizer prices and produce fewer coffee beans to export. According to Cristina Ribeiro Duval, who comes from a long line of coffee growers, costs for fertilizers have tripled compared to the same time last year. To make things worse, a new drought led to mass crop failures this month, which means that Ms. Duval, 75, will have to produce only a fraction of a Ribeiro Duval brand of coffee, which is largely exported to the US and some European countries. Fertilizer is not only more expensive, but also it's harder to find. This year you pay, then put your name on a waiting list, and the supplier delivers it when he has it, she says. That's to say, soon drinking that morning coffee will become a privilege for those who can afford it. Meanwhile, in Africa, fertilizer costs could result in an acute drop in demand, given that more and more farmers cannot keep up with rising prices, and in turn, that will crater food production in many countries. Data released by the International Fertilizer Development Center, that's a global non-profit organization, pointed out that fertilizer demand in Africa could drop by 30% in 2022. Now, that would translate to 30 million metric tons less food produced, which the agency says is equivalent to the food needs of 100 million people. This is beyond serious. What is the world gonna look like without enough food for 100 million people? It is safe to say that many more hunger crises will emerge this year. That is absolutely devastating, and it feels like global leaders are not taking our problems seriously. They'll let things get unsustainable before they start acting.
It's not just America, it's global. This is a global problem. Why is it a global problem? Because of you, Jacob. You are scattered to all the kingdoms of the world. The Most High said that you will be a horror to all kingdoms of the world. That's part of the curses. He's bringing the starvation for your belly, and everyone else is going to suffer because of you as well.
In the U.S., farmers are having to come up with new strategies for their crops this year. Lower fertilizer use will inevitably weigh on food production and quality, affecting food availability, rural incomes, and the livelihoods of the poor, explained Josef Schmidhuber, Deputy Director of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization's Trade and Markets Division. As the health crisis enters year 3, millions of American households are having to down on the quality and quantity of food they consume, the World Bank said in a recent note, outlining that high fertilizer prices were adding to costs. Globally, roughly 2.4 billion people lacked access to adequate food last year, up 320 million from the year before, the organization said. Inflation spiked in about 80% of global economies last year, almost a third seeing double-digit food inflation. Unfortunately, it is now clear that the stage is being set for a historic global food crisis. Most Americans still think this sort of problem will never hit us, though they believe in the strength of a long-gone America that used to be immune from the issues the rest of the world was suffering from. But now that extensive shortages are plaguing every corner of the nation, even the mainstream media is alarmed. The Wall Street Journal just published an article entitled, "U.S. Food Supply is Under Pressure from Plants to Store Shelves." And D.C.'s Homeland Security has issued a notice urging consumers to just buy what you need and leave some for others. a desperate attempt to prevent grocery shortages from getting worse. In essence, what would have been unimaginable 3 or 4 years ago is now making headlines day after day, and the food supply chain collapse is just the most evident threat. But the truth is, we're now in the process of undergoing a system collapse. As Victor Davis Hanson has pointed out, in modern times, several nations have suffered a systemic collapse. The term describes the sudden inability of once prosperous populations to continue with what had ensured the good life as they knew it. Abruptly, the population cannot buy or even find once plentiful necessities. They feel their streets are unsafe, laws go unenforced or are enforced inequitably. Every day things start working, the government turns from reliable to capricious, if not hostile. The surging prices of daily necessities, including food, housing, healthcare, transportation, and fuel, are strangling the middle class. Who could have believed a year ago that America would now beg Saudi Arabia and beg Russia to pump more oil, as we pulled our own oil leases and cancelled pipelines and oil fields? Hansen asks. Sadly, we have to start considering that supply shortages and empty shelves are the new normal. But realistically speaking, many people will still be caught off guard by the pace of this change. The world is quickly turning upside down, and global events have been accelerating at record speed. It has been hard to keep up with all of these changes, so we should all start paying very close attention. Now that you know all of this information that you've heard in this video, please do not go back to sleep. This is not a drill. We're heading to a horrifying future, and we should all start acting accordingly. Thank you very much for watching. If you found this
Don't go back to sleep. That's what he just said. This isn't in my notes. I'm gonna just go ahead and read it real quick. It just popped in the spirit. Second Ezra in the Apocrypha. Second Ezra chapter 9, verse 9 through 12. Then shall they be in pitiful case, which now have abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments, for such as in their life have received benefits and have not known me, and they that have loathed my law. The law is only given to you, Jacob. This punishment is for you. And they that have loathed my law, while they had yet liberty, and when as yet place of repentance was open unto them, understood not, but despised it, the same must know it after death by pain. Starvation is a horrible way to go. It is very painful. Your body eats its fat first, and it starts eating muscle, then it starts eating organs, right? It's trying to keep the brain alive. It is a very, very horrible way to go. But that's the way Jacob has chose to go, and that's the way you're going to go. Thus says the Holy Bible, thus says the Most High Yah. Let's go to Leviticus 26 and 26. Leviticus 26 and 26.
Book of Leviticus, chapter 26, verse 26. And when I have broken the staff of your breed, 10 women shall break your breed. I'm sorry. Let me read that again. And when I have broken the staff of your bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall deliver you your bread again by weight, and ye shall eat and not be satisfied.
You niggas about to starve. The famine, right, in the case of Israel, comes from disobedience to the commandments of Yah, not eating or partaking in the word of Yah first and foremost, the law or the Torah. Neglect of spiritual equates to the neglect of the physical. You neglect the spiritual aspects, the Most High is going to neglect you physically. You neglect his bread, he's going to neglect your bread. Okay, and your belly's going to be touching your back. Let's go to Lamentations. Lamentations 1, 11 through 12. The book of Lamentations, chapter 1, verses 11 and 12.
Book of Lamentations, chapter 1, verses 11 and 12. All her people sigh. They seek bread. They have given their pleasant things for meat to relieve their soul. See Yahuwah and consider, for I am become vile. Is it nothing to you, all you that pass by? Behold and see if there be any sorrow like unto my sorrow, which is done unto me, wherewith Yah hath afflicted me in the day of his fierce anger.
Right? Yeah. The hunger in Jerusalem, right? Because this is Jeremiah wrote Lamentations. The hunger in Jerusalem during the siege of Babylon, this is what Jeremiah watched. It caused great famine and great hunger. All right, so the people, they lacked bread. Okay, they sold valuables to eat. Women had to prostitute themselves. Verse 4, I'm just jump at the verse 4 real quick. Verse 4, the ways of Zion, same chapter, Lamentations chapter 1, verse 4, the ways of Zion do mourn, because none come to the solemn feast. All her gates are desolate. Her priests sigh. Her virgins are afflicted, and she is in bitterness. How are her virgins afflicted? They had to prostitute themselves to get bread. This man over here got some food. All right, I'll give you a little bit of this. You give me a little bit of that. We were under siege. Okay. Now we, the people, we are Jerusalem as a people, right? The Most High calls his people Jerusalem. That's one of our names. So this is going to take place again amongst the cities, the rural countries, the Western Hemisphere, the Eastern Hemisphere, wherever the children of Israel dwell, here comes the famine. It's being reported in mainstream media now, okay, that there's a lack of food. So when the mainstream Marxist media starts reporting it, that means it's worse than what they're actually reporting. Because they got to keep the people under control. They can't let the people start panicking. If they're reporting it, it's worse than what they're actually reporting it. Because they didn't report it for a while. We've been hearing about this and knowing about it for a minute. But now they're actually being truthful and reporting it. That means it's worse than what it actually is being reported in mainstream media. And it's going to get even worse than that. Let's see how bad it's going to get. Let's go to Isaiah 9. The book of Isaiah chapter 9, verse 18 through 21. The book of Isaiah chapter 9, verse 18 through 21.
Hold on a sec, we're getting out the car. Can you grab that for me?
I'll grab it for you, no doubt. The book of Isaiah chapter 9, verse 18 through 21. For wickedness burneth as the fire. It shall devour the briars and thorns, and shall kindle in the thickets of the forest, and they shall mount up like the lifting up of smoke. Through the wrath of the Almighty of hosts is the land darkened, and the people shall be as fuel of the fire. No man shall spare his brother, and he shall snatch on the right hand and be hungry, and he shall eat on the left hand, and they shall not be satisfied. They shall eat every man the flesh of his own arm. Right? Manasseh, Ephraim, and Ephraim, Manasseh, and they together shall be against Judah. Could you imagine this? Right? Eating your own flesh, right, your own limbs, the flesh of your brother, right, your children, and still not satisfied. And on top of that, having infighting amongst the tribes, our people. Jake against Jake, as Esau is going to be against Esau. Multiple civil wars and conflicts and infighting going on in this land, along with famine. This is coming soon. It's like that movie Snow Point. When the guy said in that movie, I hate that I know how human flesh tastes. And I hate that I know that the flesh of babies tastes the best. It's predictive programming because this stuff is going to happen. Cannibalism is coming back. Amongst Jake. Yeah. We think of cannibalism, we think, oh, that's something Esau go. No, Jake's gonna be eating Jake's. Right? This is a prime way that the Most High punishes his people is with the famine. Let's go to 2 Samuel 21:1. I can read that too, Ak, if you need me to. 2 Samuel, I'll just go ahead and grab that. 2 Samuel, we're going to the 21 and 1. 2 Samuel 21, verse 1. And it reads, then there was a famine in the days of David 3 years, year after year. And David inquired of the Most High, and Yah answered, it is for Saul and for his bloody house, because he slew the Gibeonites, right? So even when the righteous were in rule, David was ruling, he was on the throne. The punishment still had to come down to the nation via famine. This is the Most High's prime way of punishing his people, and we can't escape it. It doesn't even matter who's in rulership. David was on the throne, and we still suffered famine for 3 years because of the BS that Saul was doing when he was alive. We have no righteous king over us right now. Look at all the sins we've committed. This famine is going to be severe, a severe punishment coming our way. Right? No escaping it. Let's go to 2nd Ezra. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 5, verse 1. 2nd Ezra chapter 5, verse 1.
Man, I truly apologize, Ak. I'm still moving around, man.
Hey, no problem, no problem. 2nd Ezra 5 and 1. Nevertheless, as coming the tokens, behold, the day shall come that they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. They which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in great number. Taken means killed. And the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land barren of faith. That's just a synopsis of what we read earlier, right? In the book of Amos 8, 11, and 12. It's just a repeat, okay? There's going to be great people dying, and there's going to be a lack of faith. There's going to be famine of the word, and it's going to be famine of food, right? How will death come in great number? It's going to be famine. This is a global event. Bellies touching backs, people dying and starving to death, especially of the house of Jacob. This punishment is coming for you wicked 2/3. Because when you had a chance to repent, you had liberty to repent, you did not. So you got to know death by pain. Right? That's your reward for the wickedness. That's your reward for being a naysayer, for being a scoffer at this truth, right? Or coming in this truth and leaving it. Okay? That's the reward you're going to get. Let's see how graphic it's going to be. Let's go to 2 Kings 6 and 24. 2 Kings 6 and 24. The book of 2 Kings, chapter 6, verse 24 through 30.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 6, verse 24 through 30. And it came to pass after this that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his hosts and went up and besieged Samaria. And there was a great famine in Samaria. And behold, they besieged it until an ass's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver, and the fourth part of a cab of doves during the 5 pieces of silver.
All right, so they're so hungry, right? Syria has gathered against the 10 northern kingdoms, right? And there's a siege going on. You can't do trade. Your food's all eaten up inside the cities, the capital city of Samaria there, right? And it was so bad that an ass or a donkey's head, an unclean animal, was being sold for 80 pieces of silver, right? And a piece of dove's dung being sold for 5 pieces of silver. That is famine. Read on, Ak.
Verse 26, and as the king of Israel was passing by upon the wall, there cried a woman unto him, saying, help, my lord, O king. And he said, if Yahuwah do not help thee, when shall I help thee? Out of the bran floor, or out of the winepress? And the king said unto her, what alieth thee? And she answered, this woman said unto me, give thy son that we may eat him today, and we will eat my son tomorrow. So we boiled my son and did eat him. And I said unto her on the next day, give thy son that we may eat him. And she said, hath hid her son. And it came to pass, when the king heard the words of the woman, that he rent his clothes, and he passed by upon the wall, and the people looked, and behold, he had sackcloth within upon his flesh.
Boiling children. They were boiling children alive, boiling children in Samaria. Okay? Eating unclean donkey heads. All right? This is that famine. This is the famine that is coming to our people. This may sound harsh, but it's the truth. There are children right now that are being born into this world this day, being born for the sword, being born into this world for the boiling pot, because the famine is on its way. Oh, congratulations, you're having a baby. That baby's about to be sauteed and thrown into the boiling pot. Straight up. I know that sounds harsh, but the Most High is harsh. And the wickedness of Jacob is even more harsh. That's what's coming. That's what's coming to our people. If that doesn't inspire you enough to stay in this truth and cling to the Most High with all your heart, your mind, and your being, I don't know what will. You stiff next to you 2/3, you're done. 2nd Ezra 16. 2nd Ezra 16, 17 through 22. 2nd Ezra 16, 17 through 22.
Book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16, verses 17 through 22.
Yes, sir.
Book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16, verses 17 through 22. Woe is me! Woe is me! Who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are set as scourges for amendment.
So it's set as famine and plague. It's set as scourges or punishments for amendment to help you get right. It shall act right. These scourges, these famines, these plagues, those are punishments. Read out.
Verse 20. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness.
Jake's still not going to turn from his wickedness, even though he sees what's happening.
Nor be always mindful of the scourges.
Yeah. The famine is coming for the wicked. Right? Was that verse 22, Ak?
No, we're at 21.
Go ahead.
Behold, victuals shall be so good, cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon earth.
Hey, so listen, right now, you can still go into the market and get victuals or get food, get sustenance for a relatively cheap price. There's no 80 pieces of silver, for a donkey's head right now. You can still go into the grocery store and you can still get food. But you can see right now that the shelves are emptying. It's harder to get certain items. So while food is plenty, while victuals are so ever cheap, and we should be paying attention to what's happening, we're not going to do, our people as a whole are not going to be doing that. Only the elect are going to see what's happening and make preparations spiritually and physically. Read on out.
And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine. And the other that escape the hunger shall sword destroy.
Famine is coming for the wicked, right? Whoever the famine doesn't take out, the sword is waiting for them. The GAT, the AR, the Glock, the Smith & Wesson, right? The sword is waiting for them. Okay, the wicked are going to be cleansed. The wicked are going to be taken out of our nation. We need this to happen. 2/3 of our people got to go, and a lot of them are going to go by famine. By famine. Okay. Let's talk about spiritual hunger real quick. Let's talk about spiritual hunger. All right. Let's go to Isaiah 5:13. We talked about physical hunger. We talked about the famine, how it affected our people and how it's going to be coming back in prophecy, according to prophecy, I should say. Let's talk about that spiritual hunger, right? Let's go to Isaiah 5:13.
Book of Isaiah, chapter 5, verse 13. Therefore, my people are gone into captivity because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst.
Yeah, the leaders of our people, they're famished or lacking in wisdom and understanding of the law, right? Thirst in the word, okay? Right? Like some of these Israelite leaders who telling their people to take the jab and don't worry about this, and there's not going to be any Jacob. There's Israelite teachers saying there's not going to be Jacob's trouble. These are honorable men that are thirsting, that are famished. They're not able to feed the people or give them drink. Right? Our people cut off the living water and rejected the Most High. Therefore, our people are starved spiritually and soon to be physically. Starved spiritually and soon to be physically. Psalm 63:1. Psalms 63:1.
Book of Psalms, chapter 63, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
The Psalm of David when he was in the wilderness of Judah. O Yah, thou art my Elohim. Early will I seek thee. My soul thirsteth for thee. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is.
Yeah. See, they're brothers and sisters thirsting for the word of the Most High, hungry for his bread, right? And what do we have to do as believers? We the scriptures, but with our lifestyle, right? Showing them the way by being a living sacrifice. Be that living sacrifice. And let the children eat the sacrifice. Let them see your life and let them be inspired to convert to the ways of the Most High, to save themselves. Because our people are out here spiritually hungry. Feed them before they become physically hungry and starved. Right? Because those of us that's in this truth, and that's of the hopeful elect, and that's in this truth for real, hey, guess what? You are blessed. You are blessed and you are protected. Let's go to Philippians 4:19. Philippians 4:19. We almost done.
Philippians chapter 4, verse 19. But my Elohim shall supply all your need according to his riches and glory by Yahushua HaMashiach, or by Yahushua HaMashiach.
All right, all of our needs will be supplied through Mashiach Yahushai, including what? Including food. Including food. We don't have to be like our stiff-necked ancestors worrying about bread. As soon as he give us deliverance and a miracle, we worry about our bellies. We don't have to do that. All of our needs are going to be supplied. We have to have faith in that. We have to have faith in the Most High, that as believers in the Mashiach Yahushai, he's going to deliver us. He's going to supply our needs. Even when there's thousands of people dying around us, 1,000 fall at thy side and 10,000 at thy right hand. Right? But it does not come nigh thee. We have to have faith in that. We have to know that the Most High is going to provide for his people. Right? So long as we are diligently serving him, so long as we're looking in that mirror and checking our walks, so long as we know that we're loving the Most High with all of our heart, our mind, our being, and loving our neighbor, our brother, our Israelite brother and sister as ourselves. We have a good chance of being saved and not being touched by this famine. Let's go to Isaiah 65, 13 through 14. Matthew 5 and 6. Matthew 5 and 6.
Matthew, the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 6. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled.
Hey, so during the famine of the word, we're going to be filled with goodness. We're going to be filled with the Most High's righteousness, with his wisdom, his understanding. In a time of confusion and chaos. When the lights go out, when the food stops coming in, everyone's going to lose their minds. But wisdom shall be the stability of our times because we're being diligent in his word. We're filling ourselves up off this word right now, and it's going to last us through the famine. Right? Isaiah 65, 13 through 14. Last scripture. We'll end it here. Isaiah 65, 13 and 14.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 65, verses 13 and 14. Therefore, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit.
Yeah, we will eat spiritually and physically. The children of the Most High and the believers in the Mashiach Yahushua, we're going to eat spiritually and physically until when? Until we eat and drink in the kingdom with our master. Kohol Yahweh Hashem Yahushua by Hashem Rakal Kadosh, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, death and destruction to the 2/3 and to the heathen. Wa abat babah. Shalom.
Good
Any
lesson.
questions?